Nothing to do with Putin. I've never spoken to him. I don't know anything about him other than he will respect me. He doesn't respect our president. And if it is Russia, which is probably not, nobody knows who it is, but if it is Russia, it's really bad for a different reason, because it shows how little respect they have for our country when they would hack into a major party and get everything. But it would be interesting to see. I will tell you this. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
That was then candidate Donald Trump back in 2016, infamously calling on Russia to hack into Hillary Clinton's emails. Trump would go on to say that he was only joking when he made that request, but his intended audience seemed to take it quite seriously. As special counsel Robert Mueller noted in his final report, Russia tried to hack into Clinton's emails just hours after Trump's remarks there in Florida. Former President Trump and his inner circle's connections to Russia and other autocratic regimes are discussed in the new book with the title Foreign Agents: How American Lobbyists and Lawmakers Threaten Democracy Around the World. And its author, Michel, joins us now. He is also the director of Combating Kleptocracy program with the Human Rights Foundation. Casey, thank you for being here. Congrats on the book.
Thank you so much.
So tell us more. Just define foreign agents for us.
Sure, absolutely. So this is a book about the foreign lobbying industry. These are the Americans, the American firms, PR firms, law firms, consultancies, even increasingly think tanks and universities that are signing up to act as lobbyists, not for other Americans, but for foreign regimes, foreign dictators, foreign oligarchs, and using all of their tools and talents to target American legislators and the American populace writ large on behalf of their dictator clients to entrench those regimes and change American policy in the process.
So tell us some of who these people are. I have a few names in front of me. Sure. Donald Trump, okay. Paul Manafort, we know his connections. Some of the others might be a little surprising. Bill and Hillary Clinton, yeah. John Boehner. Yeah.
Some of these figures that I write about in the book are very well known. Paul Manafort, you just mentioned a moment ago, Donald Trump's 2016 campaign manager, made a name for himself as the go-to foreign lobbyist in Washington, working on behalf of all manner of regimes around the world, from the Philippines to Angola to most especially Ukraine. You have the Clintons, most especially things like the Clinton Foundation, which opened its doors to all kinds of dictatorial funding, tens of millions of dollars, most especially in 2008 and 2016, when those regimes thought Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president of the United States. The very first modern foreign lobbyist that I write about in the political space is one, again, I think a lot of folks know about, Bob Dole, the Lion of the Senate, still viewed as this kind of, a figure from a more bipartisan era in the United States. But he left office in the late 90s and early 2000s, didn't go into retirement. He ended up working on behalf of some truly heinous regimes abroad, places like the Democratic Republic of Congo and more, and made significant sums turning into a foreign agent.
Casey, the numbers on this are extraordinary. You detail them so well in the book. And you also take a look at Donald Trump and the culture of foreign influence peddling that he brought with him to the White House. And you write in part this: as with so many other topics, kleptocracy, election integrity, the safety and future of American democracy writ large, Trump's success brought a sudden salience to the threats of foreign lobbying in the United States, and understandably so. No president has seen so many members of his inner circle, former campaign managers and national security officials, former fundraisers and political advisors, indicted for or convicted of secretly working on behalf of foreign dictatorships, all while pushing Trump to do their foreign clients' bidding. Not that this reality is especially surprising. Trump was, after all, the first American president to openly accept the aid of foreign governments in order to get elected. Talk a little bit more about that, but also talk about what Joe Biden said when he came into an office, which is that he was going to put an end to all of this. He was going to drain that lobbying swamp.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We have, obviously, for many reasons, never seen a president or now presidential candidate like Donald Trump, not least because of all of the foreign agents and all of the foreign lobbyists he welcomed with open arms into his White House. Of course, that stretches back to his history previous to the presidency, when he had financial connections to regimes around the world, not just the Russias and the Chinas of the world, but also Azerbaijan, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Indonesia, Malaysia. The list goes on and on. on. And of course, that continued through his presidency. And even after he left the White House, those deals, those arrangements have only continued. Joe Biden ran for the presidency in 2020 on many different campaign planks, but one in particular was to ban foreign lobbying outright. That was right there in his campaign plank and in his campaign promises. And the 4 years since, nothing has happened. He hasn't done a single thing to clamp down on foreign lobbying or the foreign lobbying networks that continue to grow in Washington. That's for many reasons, I'm sure, but the unfortunate reality is there has been very little progress made in this space, and it is incumbent on a potential next president, if it is President Harris, to finally do something about these foreign lobbying networks.
Casey, Simone here. I am just wondering about who is policing this, right? We know about FARA, which is the Foreign Agents Registrants Act of 1938, and that's when it was originally passed. People must register as foreign lobbyists, but obviously the system needs some updating. Who is in charge of policing this right now?
So that's a great question, and that is the Department of Justice, which, as you just mentioned, oversees the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which is what all of these foreign lobbyists have to follow. They have to file documentation about who they are working for, how much money they are making, and then what they are doing with that money at the end of the day. And unfortunately, for years, for decades, not really until the rise of Trump himself, FARA and the Department of Justice effectively forgot about these regulations, which is why we saw the explosion of these networks in the late 2010s and even through the early 2020s. I do want to give a little bit of credit, though, to the current Department of Justice, which recently oversaw a very successful and in many ways unprecedented prosecution of not members of Trump's orbit himself, but of now former Senator Bob Menendez from the great state of New Jersey, the very first American legislator convicted on foreign agents-related charges, who was found out acting as a foreign lobbyist for the dictatorship in Egypt. The very first time in American history we've seen a successful conviction on these charges, and I suspect the first of some more to come.
So very much in the headlines right now. The new book titled Foreign Agents: How American Lobbyists and Lawmakers Threaten Democracy Around the World. It is on sale now. Author and director of the Combating Kleptocracy program with the Human Rights Foundation, Casey Michel. Casey, thank you for joining us this morning. Next up here, Harris-Walz National Campaign Co-Chair Mitch Landrieu will join us following his appearance at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. We'll ask him about his party's chances of winning key battleground states. Plus, we'll show you Donald Trump's new digital trading cards that he's now selling to his supporters. Morning Joe, we'll be right back.